Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about one of the most talked futuristic project in the world that is referred as NEOM project. The NEOM project in a sense is trying to create a utopia in the deserts of Saudi Arabia. So we'll try to understand what are the challenges that this project is facing and whether the project as has been announced in its original form, is it even feasible to achieve that. So first of all, to give you the context of this particular topic, recently a well-known US or American newspaper by the name of the Wall Street Journal, it has published a highly critical report on the NEOM, and which is, as we have discussed, is the very ambitious project in Saudi Arabia, where the Saudi Arabia is trying to create a mega city, and this project is championed by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia himself, that is Mohammed bin Salman. Now, the Saudi Arabia's NEOM project contends with three major issues. The first is the corruption that is involved in the project. Second is the death of the worker and the rights of worker, which is continuously being violated. And last, we can say, is an element of racism and misogyny that has been seen in the remarks made by the director or the main officers or officials involved in this project. So let us try to understand about what is the world's largest construction project and the many controversies that have plagued it. So first of all, if you try to understand about the project itself, the project was in beginning envisioned to be commissioned and completed by year 2030. However, as per the recent report, it is delayed and now the project's timeline has been increased to year 2038. Now, it sought to diversify the country's economy because, as we know, that Saudi Arabia is the largest producer of oil in the world, and its entire economy, or we can say the large part of its economy, is dependent on the selling of the oil. So, one of the vision of the Saudi Arabia's crown prince was to basically diversify the country's economy and reduce its dependence on oil, and that is why the two areas where they are trying to work very hard is one in attracting investment by building big cities, mega cities on the line of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and second is focusing upon the tourists also, where they're trying to attract the tourist, and that is why the tagline of the Saudi Arabia tourism, as you might have heard about, is the come to Saudi, the real Arabia. So that is how they are trying to portray it. So if you try to understand about, first of all, the geographical location, this is the Saudi Arabia, that is on one side it is having a border with Iraq, then you have border with UAE, Yemen, and then on two sides it is having the sea, Red Sea in the west and the Persian Gulf in the east. So the project is expected to spread over a total area of 26,500 square kilometer, and the NEOM, the project as it has been called, will be situated in the western region of Saudi Arabia, which is called as Tabuk province, that lies somewhere around this area. The name NEOM, if you try to understand, it has basically been derived from the Greek word neo, that means new, and the Arabic word that is mustaqbal, which means future. That means this project or the development of the city basically represents a new future, a better future. Initially pegged to be a 500 billion project, however, due to the time overrun, the cost and expenses of this project has also increased, and now it is swelled up. It has swelled up to almost 1.5 trillion dollars. So a very, very humongous if you talk about the expenditure and the expenses. So NEOM is basically made up of several different elements. Let us try to examine each of these elements in the terms of its design, scale and imagination. Now the first major component of NEOM is something that is called as the line. Now in original form, the line is something, as you can see on this particular image. This is basically a three-dimensional, what we can say is a kind of artificial design of the line. So it was expected to be a 170 kilometer long line that is surrounded by mirrored wall from both the sides, and it will span over 34 square kilometers across the desert. So this was expected to be a self-sustainable cities, and most of the power requirement of the city was expected to be fulfilled by the renewable energy. Almost 95% of its power requirement is expected to be met by the renewable energy. It will be a vertically layered buildings that will span over 500 meters in we can say height and 200 meters in the width. However, as per the new report, the 170 kilometer project or 170 kilometer of target has been reduced to roughly 1.5 to 2 kilometers due to the problems associated with the project. The second part of the NEOM was Octagon. The Octagon is basically imagination of octagonal industrial city, as we can see from this particular diagram. This is how along the coastline of Saudi Arabia, an octagonal shaped industrial city was envisioned, which will house an integrated industrial port and residential apartments as well. So that will also enhance the trade and maritime trade linkages with Saudi Arabia, and also will bring more revenues in terms of facilitating the port access to the ships passing through this region, which is a very huge number of ships, as it connects the oil rich Gulf countries, Gulf nation, with the oil deficit countries in Asia. The third component of the NEOM was something that is referred as Trojena. Now, Trojena is something that is also where Saudi Arabia is expected to build its largest ski resort. Now, it is situated in the tallest mountain of Saudi Arabia, and temperature of this region remains below 0 degrees Celsius or near 0 degrees Celsius for a very long period of time, and that is why it is a good place where ski resorts can be built. The fourth component is what is called as Magna. Magna is again a dream of building a luxury lifestyle coastal destination that will be situated on the Gulf of Aqab. It will be home to a nature reserve which aims to be a gold standard in sustainable tourism. And last but not the least, the most important component of the NEOM project is what is referred as Sindala, which is envisioned as a luxury island in the Red Sea. If you remember in the map of Saudi Arabia, I have discussed that on the western part of Saudi Arabia, it has a Red Sea, coast on Red Sea. So in the Red Sea, they want to develop a luxury island which hopes to rival the likes of the Greek islands, the Caribbean Sea island that is well known for its tourism, and also the Mediterranean coastline, all favored by the yacht and boat owners. So Saudi Arabia want to divert some of those traffic and some of those revenue to the coast of the Red Sea also. Now, what is the controversy around it? The first and the most important controversy here is due to the development of this project, there has been a forced displacement of the indigenous tribes that live in this part of Saudi Arabia. These tribes are called as Huwaitat tribe. So, the Saudi security forces, as they claim, have been given the order to evict the residents of this region, even by using force in the Tabuk province where the NEOM project is being built. The Saudi authorities in this regard even have approved the use of lethal forces to achieve the same, and this is something that has been recognized by the United Nations also. And in the 2023, that is in last year, UN has expressed alarm about Saudi government's imminent execution of Huwaitit dissenters for protesting their forced eviction while being charged as terrorists. So this will also help in suppressing the voices of the displaced people or displaced tribe. The second controversy is about the actual groundwork and the sluggish progress that this project has witnessed. For example, the Bloomberg has reported that NEOM project had been considerably scaled down. The goal was to accommodate 1.5 million of the population, that Saudi Arabia has total 9 million residents in its country, and the line itself by 2030, that the mirror city that we have talked about in the beginning. But now they have a scale down and they will only house a maximum of 300,000 residents. Second, as we discussed in the beginning, that the envisioning of line was for a length or distance of 170 km, that has been significantly reduced to just 1.4 km that need to be completed by year 2030. So this kind of scaling down has raised concern about NEOM's readiness to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games, that we have talked about, the ski resort that the Saudi Arabia is trying to build in the mountains, that is called as Trojena. So it has portrayed Trojena as a host region or host city for the 2029 Asian Winter Game, but now it looks in jeopardy because of the sluggish progress. The next controversy that has erupted is regarding the apathy of the higher officials at the NEOM. And from the very beginning, officials claim that Mohammed bin Salman has given or delegated the elements of projects to such executive which can get the work done at any cost without worrying or without caring about the human right violations or any other kind of use of forces. Now, this often means that basic workplace ethics were given a pass, and we observe a toxic behavior that is being actively encouraged to get the work done at the workplaces. In this regard, those who were hired had often to leave their previous jobs either due to workplace misconduct or some kind of criminal activities, and these people are now has been hired to work on the NEOM project. And last we talk about is a concern about the surveillance state, that such kind of project if built, if completed, and if the residents and people start to live in these areas, how surveillance of these people will be done? Because obviously Saudi Arabia has announced that all the projects under the NEOM is basically a development of cognitive cities, which would rely on real-time information to anticipate and offer proactive insights to its residents. Now, obviously, when you talk about the real-time information, that cannot be achieved without having a proper surveillance. That means there will be CCTV cameras and all the movements of the residents will continuously be watched by the officials here. So, in effect, this would imply constant monitoring of internet use as well, and create a surveillance state, something that critics have raised fears of, where again the dissident voices can easily be suppressed by the state. So, there is a risk that Saudi Arabia can turn these regions and can become a surveillance state. So, these are the concerns that has been raised and the problems that the NEOM project, which is one of the most futuristic projects not only in Saudi but in the world as of now, is facing. That is all for this particular video. Thank you very much.